Have you ever noticed that magic items at high levels just don't matter? Finding magic items is really cool. You've defeated the dragon, you're going through their hoard, and you discover Soul Eater, glowing faintly in the darkness. You pick it up and you feel its power running through your hands. +1 to roll damage? That's it? Today I'm joined by the designer of Mythic Treasures, a supplement designed to make magic items great again. Together we're going to find out what a Mythic Treasure is, how they designed them to keep them balanced, they wouldn't ruin your game, what the hell a beat is, and how to use it in your game to make your story more immersive. And at the end I'm going to write a short adventure to show you how to use them. So grab yourself a hot drink, a notepad, and a little blanket if you're one of the 5% of people who watch this on the sofa or on the TV. This video is sponsored by Mythic Treasures, but they have no creative control over the content within the video. I didn't even send them the script before filming. Magic items have always been a pain point since I literally started running Dungeons and Dragons. When I first ran D&D, I used to give out +1 swords at level 2 just for something cool, and I can remember giving a level 5 character a Vorpal sword. If you've ever played Dungeons and Dragons, a Vorpal sword lets you kill anything with a 1 in 20 chance all the time. That does mean the BBEG might just lose their head. I found magic items in Dungeons & Dragons a bit of a weird mismatch of items which were kind of not very important, like a healing potion. You can kind of get away without them. And magic items which are so broken, like the deck of many things, you can't even give them out to your players without ruining your campaign. So when I came over to Draw Steel, it felt pretty good to move to the level, treasure, trinkets, and consumables system. It was all pretty balanced. I'm running a 7th level game. The magic items just don't matter. I kind of expected at that higher level that you'd really feel the items the players had. They'd constantly be describing the cool abilities they're using. And I'm just not feeling that. Level treasures aren't doing that for me, the same way trinkets weren't really doing that. Some of the trinkets have the same issues as Dungeons and Dragons magic items. The Evilist Eye is fine, but stuff like the Hellcharger Helm and the Null Resonance Ring, I think it's called, they're both really powerful. They completely change how the character plays. That's kind of where Mythic Treasures come in. What is a Mythic Treasure?
Kind of like a second subclass. Narratively very important, and also mechanically very defining. I feel like Treasures is such a ripe design space for, so I wanted there to be more mechanically involved treasures. In the base game, they're cool, but they don't really affect how you play that much. They're mostly flat bonuses. They don't give you really any new abilities. And this is totally intentional, right? I mean, the developers just wanted treasures not to kind of take the spotlight away from your character. So we wanted something that was really character defining. So you can think of Thor. Mjolnir isn't a +2 push treasure. It's way more defining to him, both as a character narratively and mechanically how he fights. We even have a treasure that's kind of like Venom, or the other Hulk, where when you become dying, you transform. So we wanted things that really heavily modify the way play your character, both out of combat and in combat.
If you want to pick up Mythic Treasures, there's a link in the description and the pinned comment. I wanted to make this video before I knew they'd sponsor me. I reached out to them thinking if I was lucky, I'd get the interview and possibly some behind the scenes access. And as a kind of on a whim, I was like, hey, you wouldn't want to sponsor the video. And they were like, yes to all 3. I do want to make it very clear, as I said in the intro, they don't have any creative control over this video. I didn't send them the script at all. They don't have I didn't have to agree with them what I'm going to say. If I didn't like the product, I wouldn't make a video about it. That being said, given their power level, why are they not an artifact?
Their power level isn't explicitly overpowered, really insane stuff. They're not supposed to be something I think you hold on to for very long. Mythic Treasures aren't imbalanced by design. They're supposed to be very balanced. I'm someone who's very obsessed with balance. They're balanced to be as strong as 2-level treasures, basically.
Why not make them 2-leveled treasures? Why not use the tools you've already been given to achieve the same result?
In order to create a complete sort of mechanical loop, a complete design, it'd have to be encapsulated into one thing. If we split it apart, we don't have enough power budget to create a gameplay loop within each treasure separately. We needed the budget to put it all into one place so we could make one coherent.
At your table, do you think you'd say, hey players, each of you gets one of these things? Because one of my big concerns reading them is they are obviously very powerful. Like you're saying, a second subclass level of power. If only one of the players at the table has one, aren't they going to feel vastly superior to the other players? And then you have to give them, if you have to give them to all the players, balance is completely gone out of the game. You need to be throwing way more monsters at them. There can be a lot of knock-on effects.
First of all, they're not supposed to be that much stronger than level treasures, at least until 5th level. A campaign in which players get 2 level treasures before 5th, you're not going to see a very different power level, even if everyone has mythic treasures. Sort of envision people all having a mythic treasure. In my mind, yes, but it's not mandatory. We have very specific guidelines in the book on how to run parties with mixed treasures. If you have a player that has normal level treasures, they need to get their 2nd level treasure by 3rd level. And because mythic treasures in general are a bit stronger than a couple of level treasures before 5th level, the instructions are to give those players an extra trinket or an extra title, just to kind of balance it out. We're fine with that.
No. I'm okay with being against the rule. My question is,
Yeah.
how do you envisage the director balancing that out? Because you've already said that they're more powerful before 5th level. Now it's like they're more powerful than level treasures before 5th level, and that's more than the hero should have. How do you that's why I asked, do you envisage the players having them from level 1 at the start?
Oh no, you're supposed to be gaining them somewhere around level 1 or 2. You're not supposed to be starting with mythic treasures. Although we are going to write a complication per mythic treasure that allows you to start with it, but it's going to be a complication, right? So you're going to have some downsides to go along with it.
Yeah.
Because we think some character concepts kind of only work if you start with your mythic treasure, right? And the first beat we have for each mythic treasure is how you acquire it. But it's not binding, and obviously the director can take or leave every single word we write, right?
So that kind of neatly brings us on to my next question, which is about the beats. What made you bring the beats system into Draw Steel?
Beat system is something that I liked in other games, not necessarily in this form. And I did feel this was something I was kind of missing. Even if I maybe had an idea for an arc, not every player necessarily has one. And I think it's good to give people the tools to do something, even if they can do it themselves. The fact that you're kind of going ahead and doing it for them kind of more reinforced, and it feels more real when there's a connection between the mechanics and the narrative. I think all of that combined should create an interesting narrative. That said, I haven't actually playtested these beats, right? Because to playtest them, you'd have to do a campaign. So it's kind of hard to playtest this sort of thing, which is sort of being...
Obviously, and they're vague enough that they'll be unique every time. I don't know if you'd be able to playtest them, really. My big surprise to me is you advise the director to hide the arc from the player. That's very surprising to me. Surely you'd want the player to be in the know.
Currently, the choice for us is for the player to know only the next beat. And as soon as they fulfill that beat, they know what the next beat is. We think this is more interesting than to know where your character is going to end up ultimately, and to know everything ahead of time. We're definitely going to have this sort of table. Each treasure has a row, and it says what is the mechanical hook of the treasure and what is the narrative hook. That, I think, should give players enough of an idea what they're getting into without spoiling the entire arc.
Final question then, classical YouTuber question. Where can people stay up to date with you and your project?
So I have a site called Steel Echoes. Originally, I just had the Scion on there, but then I just hosted a bunch of I'm hosting classic works there. I'm also going to link to the Mythic Treasures eventually. Now it's just linking to the backer kit.
So let's make an adventure for this. So last time we did something like this, I was making a campaign. So this is going to be a little bit more different because I want it to be more precise. You see proof that I'm not lying, that I backed the product. Which one should we use? I really want to use Soul Eater. I just think Soul Eater looks really cool. Devourer, Anathema, Sin, Soul Eater. The demon blade of Karakzul has had as many names and thoughts throughout the ages. But one fact remains. The wielder of this menacing weapon, whether they knowingly or not, enters a pact with Karakzul and must satiate, whether knowingly or not, enter a pact with Karakzul and satiate his hunger, lest they suffer the consequences. So this is a big sword, as we can see. Nice, cool, big sword, right? At level 1, it gives you a +1 damage, whether you're using it as an implement or a weapon, and a +6 to your stamina. And it introduces you to the idea of being able to reap people. So for one heroic resource, whenever somebody dies, you can take their soul into your body. You can only do this once per round, but it is a free triggered action, so you don't have to use your trigger on it. Once you have that, you then get souls that you can use to do cool things. At level 3, you get this cool Hellfire ability, which lets you deal 5 damage to someone, and then they end up on fire until they pass a save. At 5th level, the bonus increases to plus 2 damage and 12 stamina, and you can now use Reap twice, and you get some even more cool abilities to use your souls on. At level 7, you get another cool ability. This will allow you to deal fire damage and restrain your target, and possibly even send them all the way to the Abyssal Wasteland. At level 9, your bonus increases to plus 3 damage and 21 stamina, and you can use Reap 3 times per round. You can also now use a free maneuver to convert 1 soul into 1 heroic resource. So what might be a cool... Who might have, for a first echelon campaign, who might have Soul Eater? You guessed it correctly. We're going to look at some demons, some lovely, lovely demons. Let's look at the Grunts. Gwants are terrifying demon leaders. Each one is an amalgamation of several demon bodies formed into a mobile musical instrument. Several heads are arranged in a chorus embedded in the demon's chest, and their ribs are upturned into a fleshy pipe organ. Their attacks entrance and confuse enemies, making them more vulnerable to other demons. That is truly heinous. So we have, it's a leader stat block, 20 EV. Right, if we're assuming, let's assume level 2 heroes for this adventure. 5 level 2 heroes would be 40 EV, so that's pretty easy. Their main attack is a burst 5, where they make people slowed and can move. They have a maneuver to slide a target, ignoring stability. They have a trigger to thrive off pain. Any damage is halved and deals 3 extra damage until the next turn. Fun. All leaders and solo stat blocks can end in effect for 5 damage and draw steel. They gain strikes on winded creatures. You can't really hide from them if you're close to it. And they have villain actions. Each target must choose between taking 5 or being frightened. The choreograph kills the target, and each ally in the encounter deals 3 damage with strikes until the end of the round. The director gains malice equal to the number of heroes in the encounter. And number 3, the choreograph shifts up to their speed and uses agonizing harmony. Again. So they are definitely a frontline fighter, so we'll want stuff in there. I love this idea of them being the chorus. So I feel like I want this to be set somewhere with like a choir. My first thought was a church choir, but the very last time I did an adventure with you guys, it was a corrupted religious institution. But I love the idea of something musical. So maybe we're in a opera house. Maybe the opera has been taken over by demons. Opera company is so convincing that they summon a demon by mistake. I like that. So what would our 5 rooms be? We need, in a standard 5-room dungeons, there is an entrance, a trick, an RP moment, a big fight, and then a reward. So I think we now know that the big fight will be big fight. So my idea that I've just had, I think the big fight should be the players find out somehow about the ritual going on. And so they have to break into the opera house where this is happening. And the Soul Eater has corrupted this company. And the Soul Eater is going to get the lead singer, who's not as pure heart, to basically the lead soprano or the lead bassist is basically going to sacrifice a bunch of the humans to the Soul Eater's god to power it up. And so the heroes need to get there and stop that happening. And so while it's going on, it's like the players are like hearing the opera happening. They're trying to fight their way through the back stage of the opera because they can't make a big scene, because that wouldn't help, right? If there was a big scene, the thing would fight. So that means the entrance is back door. I think the trick or setback should be that there is a prop Soul Eater, which they think is the one that's on stage, but it's actually the one backstage. So I think the trick or setback should be that if they go to the wrong place first, they search the backstage because it's not on stage yet. There's actually 2 versions of it, but we know you can summon it to hand. I think that's one of its abilities, correct? You can summon Soul Eater into your hands as a free maneuver whenever you use a surge to deal damage. So I like the idea that it's probably not real. It's not, you can just summon it into your hands. So it's in a locked chest, right? They wouldn't know that you can do that, but there's a fake prop one left out, like it's ready to go on stage, because that's what they use for most of the performance until this big climactic scene in the 3rd act. Of course, it's the 3rd act. So the trick or setback is there is a fake Soul Eater. We'll So they might think that they get it, right? Then they can run away and then it can still go off and they'll still have to save it. An RP or puzzle or something. If they want the element of surprise, I think a different way they could get up here is I think they should be a negotiation they can do with the host, the owner of the theater. If they can find and convince that they're the good guys, the stage hands know when things will be able to happen. They can sneak them in the back if they want to. So, and then the reward is obviously the Soul Eater. Will the heroes take it? Even if they know that it could be evil, I think they might want to grab it because they might think they can do better than the last people. What are we going to need to make? The alley fight, the negotiation, the montage test, and the stage fight. So backdoor fight should be pretty simple. We want some monsters which will be... We don't need this solo yet. We need something a little bit more brutey to hold the door. So I feel like there needs to be 2 guards here. Obviously, demons are all hordes, so this is still going to be a decent number of monsters. So I think we definitely need a few Mercerons. You always do. You always want some brutes, in my opinion, in a fight like this. So let's say they're standing guard. If the heroes start the fight after round 1, and then at round 2, we can have... Oh, and we should have at the start, we should also have 4 Remash for 16 EV, who are like watching from a rooftop, right? I feel like these guys should be hidden and they can jump down because they can teleport, which is pretty cool. That's 36. So we need 12 more EV of things inside. And then we can have in round 2, we can have 2 Bendrax and 2 Dorlasses. So that will be 8 EV and 8 EV respectively. So that is currently a total of 14, so 30, so 50, so bang on. Make sure when we get this map, we want some places for cover, some ways for the heroes to sneak up, but that's all good. Then inside we have the find the fake Soul Eater. So I feel like the kind of challenges the heroes will need to overcome. Being quiet, that would be like agility test plus stealth type, so sneak skill. Search for hidden compartments would be reason or intuition plus search. Stand guard would be reason or intuition plus alertness. Unlock safes would be agility plus pick locks. Put things back where you found them would be reason or intuition plus, I don't know what the skill would be for putting things back. Because you're like, the idea is that you're like hiding things. So it doesn't look like you've searched the place. If someone comes past, hiding things. Disarm traps is definitely agility plus. Is there a skill in traps? / mechanics? Freudian slip right there. And then hide quickly would be agility plus hide or alertness. This is our montage test. If the party... It's a moderate montage test. The party gets 1 or 2 failures, they find the real Soul Eater, and the enemies don't have it for the final battle. If they get 3 or 4 failures, the enemies have Soul Eater for the final battle. And if they have, although it's not either the heroes have it, they can't use it yet. They need to defeat the cultist first before it can be taken as a new owner. And if they get a full failure, the enemies have Soul Eater and the ritual is starting immediately. Sounds good to me. Now let's think about the stagehand. So we are going to need an NPC. So let's call him Zozima Mosconi. Let's go here and let's use my NPC template. So we know that they are a stagehand. So dressed all in black, their uniform. That's more backstory than appearance. What do they look like? Middle-aged woman, graying hair tied back on the 4 months. Nice. Gesture. What do we think she does? What's the thing that is memorable for her doing? What will she know when the players do that? Always has too many things in hands. So as the DM, we describe her as walking in with, a notepad, a checklist with pen in one hand and then a stack of books in the other. So when they meet the PCs, they have to like pass the PC stuff to hold if they need to grab something else or whatever. I think she's definitely friendly is what I imagine. And I imagine her having a kind of rushed So she talks a little bit like this. She's in a little bit of a rush to get things done, you know, because she's got a lot to do tonight. It's a performance night, particularly when it's a performance night. Background. We know that she's run the theatre for years. Her theatre she owned. Why does she love theatre? We need to give her some character traits, so she's got something for the players to find out about her. She wanted to be an actor. We can go back to this tab now on the Mythic Treasures, I think. She wanted to be an actor growing up, but she couldn't, so she now runs free lessons for people. That's all we need for this character. I don't think she's going to be super important. If she comes back in a future adventure, we can bring it up. So what's important about the Soul Eater? She has seen Soul Eater backstage, and this is where we figured out the hook we already had, and connected it to the murders recently. She is hoping it's chance / a copycat, but she is worried. So she's seen the Soul Eater backstage, and she's heard about the murders that I've just discovered is going to be the hook of this adventure. We'll go back and write out the hook now I have more info. She's hoping that it's a copycat. She knows that the Soul Eater is part of the act, but she's hoping the murders are just a copycat and there's nothing to do with it. But she is worried that tonight, she heard the lead actor say conspiratorially to a friend like Whisper, one of the other actors, tonight is the night. We're hoping that that's not the case. What do we think if the heroes are trying to convince her to let them backstage because they've figured it out? Motivations? Proof? I don't feel like that needs to have its own, like, they don't need to make that about benevolence or anything. Maybe justice is the correct way of saying this. Like, this is justice. We know we're doing the right thing. Legacy. Do you want this theatre remembered for a massacre? I don't think she's going to be hard to convince. What would make her not like them if the PCs engage with this badly? I feel like if they make this about money, greed, she doesn't care about money when lives are on the line. In negotiations in Draw Steel, an NPC's interest is measured with a number, with 5 being that they're super interested and they'll do what the heroes want and an extra thing. And at 1, they will not do what the heroes want and mess them over. There's also a score of patience, which represents how many more times the heroes can try to convince them before they'll be like, no, I've made my decision. I know that a yes and would be, yes, I will take you backstage, and I will cause a... By the time they get here, we know that they're already going to know that they're evil if they've done their things correctly. This is not about an investigation. So they can convince her and she'll take them backstage and everything. If they somehow really piss her off, no, and I will tell them you're here. So they will just start the ritual. Cool. So now we've got that. We now know more about the hook. So I think the hook is there have been a string of murders with a weapon in a opera. So there's been a string of murders. The murder weapon is very obviously, I imagine, because the priest has covered and proven that the souls have been eaten, is maybe not that. The gash marks have shown that it looks like it's the weapon at the theatre, but their company are claiming this is a thing. One of the replicas I think has been stolen, so we'll kind of hint that there are multiple. One of the prop blades is missing and was found at one of the murder scenes. That's the hint for later that if they fail the montage test, that's one of the what's going on there. One of the prop blades is missing and was found at the murder scene. The heroes can go to the latest. So then we'll go that. How would they? And then when they get they find the murder scene, they find the trail, they head back to the theatre. We come here. Then they're attacked by demons, and they can learn about the sword. So I think at this point as well, the heroes can go to the murder scene. They can talk to the local priest to learn about what the Soul Eater is. And that would get them this information that we had, didn't we? We had some cool information about the Soul Eater, didn't we? They can learn this kind of information from the priest. So the adventure so far. Find out about the string of murders. They find out the fears to blame. They go to the murder scene. They find out that at that murder scene, one of the prop blades has been found at the murder scene, and that was missing, right? So this is one of the 3 pieces of information they can find. They find a trail they can follow, and they can learn to talk to the priest to learn about Soul Eater. And that would also infer probably why the opera company has been turned mad by this weapon. So we know we're going to have the Churagant as a third of the EV, which is going to be pretty spicy, if you ask me. 20. We know their abilities are kind of about them being the distraction. So I think it would be fun if we have some more kind of creatures who don't necessarily need to be in melee. I think some ruminants. I know those are melees, ignore me. So we'll have 12 EV for Nance. So they can kind of support. Then we can have some other people. I don't really want more tall asses. I think the Bendarks. So let's have 12 EV3. We fix that. Bendrak. So that is currently 24, 48 EV. So let's have some minions. I feel like we could have some pitlings. Could be quite fun. Let's have 12, 9 EV. That'll be 12 of them, wouldn't it? Pitlings. Bendrax as captains, although I always forget how to do captains. Minions get a bonus if they have a non-minion creature as a captain in Draw Steel. About 7 or 8 more. Is there anything fun in here that we could throw in to really spice things up? I don't want more tall asses. I love the Ramesh. Would another 12 be too much? 12 would take us to 56, 5, which would be a little too high. So let's do 2. So 8 EV, and then Soul Eater. So once the heroes get Soul Eater, we will let them know, show them the power of it, show them the beat, and I think I'd show them the second beat as well, and be like, and if you can do this, you'll get this. Like, let them know it's kind of like an arc where they'll get a chance to kind of overcome its evilness. There is a way to overcome its evilness if you go down the path far enough. So I think that's everything we need basically for this. How would I handle these beats if I was doing that? So we've already done beat 1 is this adventure here. To get the 3rd level beat, you'll need to reap 10 souls and lie, threaten, or break trust to keep the Soul Eater. You'd let them know of the number, so you'd keep track as the director and kind of make sure as they get to around that level that they get it. But if I had a player who had a less in-depth backstory, I would talk to them about times I'm going to deliberately set this up. In the future, if you were running another adventure, deliberately have NPCs like, hey, can I trust you? Like, set that stakes up. Have an NPC literally look at one of your players and go, can I trust you? And then have the player break that trust. Knowingly hurt someone who doesn't deserve it. That is something I think you'd have to really talk about with your players, with the other players as well. I think that could be that could be difficult, right? That could be one that could cause some tension at the table if it's taken the wrong way. But I think the best way to do that would be to give the other hero the chance to get something they really wanted, like possibly another magical item, possibly just the story, and either make it an NPC who the party are going to care about, or if it's not the party, ask another player, be like, are you okay if you get hurt because of this? And this could be, depending on how RP heavy your group is, this could just be something that happens in combat. Like, oh, you get the chance to kill the rivals you've been chasing, but to do it, you'll have to knock over this pillar that could hurt one of your players. I think the trick here is to read the room about how dangerous you want that to be. For 7th level, and betray an oath, bond, or ideal you once swore to upheld. This is the one that I think is the hardest if you're not showing, if you do what the product suggests and don't show the beats to your players. You need the player who has the Soul Eater to have already signed up to a bond ideal. I think that could be quite a challenging thing. I think that's the thing you need to say to your players early on. If I was reading this, I would go, okay, I need to make sure that whoever gets this item at level 1, I need to make sure that they have one of these. Or say to them, hey, if you want to unlock the full power of this, you're going to need to have something you believe in, some religion you follow, some oath you swear. I think another possibility is you could flavor this as if they've never had any oath or ideal. I think I'd allow, if you got to level 7 with someone and they'd never sworn an oath, an ideal, already had a clear bond, have this be about them having to pick a god to be like, they can feel the power overtaking them and going and finding a god to cleanse them, or going and finding an organization which is good and using that as kind of the counterbalance. I think that would be how I'd handle that. And for 9th, you've reaped 40 or more souls and either surrender yourself fully to the Soul Eater's hunger or bend the blade's wheel to your own. I think this is an interesting one because what does that actually look like? I think if you surrender yourself to the Soul Eater's hunger, I think that should come out as something dramatic happening. Like, you know how I would actually really consider using the ancestry trait Doom here, that you can decide to tell the hero at 9th level, you can use the ability Doom, and until you pick whether to surrender or continue, you can't die, right? If you come back after 12 hours being unconscious. And if you choose to bend the sword's will to your own, you get the 9th level traits, but you can start dying again. If you don't, you can choose to surrender by doing the Doom effect, by fighting until having a massive power up for this fight. But at the end of that fight, you're an evil NPC. I get your character, and they're going to come back and haunt the players. This could be bad. I think that's how I'd handle that last one, obviously with a discussion with the players, because I think you surrender yourself fully to the Soul Eater's hunger is quite nebulous. That's how I'd handle it mechanically. Whether that checks out with being broken or not would be up for you. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to give it a like and check out Mythic Treasures in the pinned comment and description below. If you now want to see me make a longer adventure, check out this one. Or if you want to make a character, you can check out this one. Or if both of these sound silly, YouTube probably knows you better than I do, so you can check out this third one.